If eyeliner has suddenly started making your eyes look heavier, smaller, or more tired, then we need to fix that. These are the eyeliner hacks that every mature woman should know about. Let's get into it. The first hack that I want to share with you is called tight lining. This is where you apply your liner right into the lash line in between the lashes instead of drawing it on top of the eyelid. One of the biggest reasons eyeliner can start to look harsher as we get older is because the line becomes too thick for the lid space that we have. If your eyes are a bit more hooded, a little more textured, or you've lost some lid space over time just because your brows have naturally lowered a little bit, a thicker liner can actually make the eyes look smaller and look much heavier. Tight lining gives you that definition right at the root of the lashes without taking up any lid space. There are actually two different ways to do it, and they give you two very different results. So I'm going to show you both. The first way is to press the liner right into the root of the lashes, not in the waterline, but in the actual root. This is one of my favorite techniques for mature hooded eyes because it gives you very soft, visible definition that makes your lashes look super thick, but without taking up any lid space at all. The second way is to press the liner into the upper waterline, which means applying liner just underneath the lashes on that inner rim. When you tightline the lash line, so the first way I showed you, it's more natural looking. When you tightline the upper waterline, so the second way, it makes the lashes look darker and fuller, but in a much more dramatic way. Now, I do want to mention one more thing about waterline tightlining before we move on. It can be beautiful, but it's not always the best option if you have super watery eyes or if your eyeliner tends to smudge and move around a lot. Because that area is so moist, the liner can sometimes transfer down into the lower lash line or lower waterline throughout the day. This will be especially problematic if you already have issues with eye makeup smudging. So if that tends to happen to you already, I would focus more on tightlining the lash line in between the hairs instead of tightlining the waterline because it's going to give you a similar result, but with much less risk of transfer. I also want to let you know that a lot of ophthalmologists don't actually recommend applying eyeliner directly on the waterline because that area contains very tiny little glands that helps keep your eyes properly lubricated. I've never had an issue with it. I tightline my waterline all the time for the last 20 plus years, but I do feel a responsibility to mention it because if you do have sensitive eyes, it's something to definitely be aware of. So just to summarize all of that, both tightlining and waterlining are techniques that give you definition right where you want it, which is at the base of the lashes without making the eyes look heavy or closed off. It's a perfect technique if you have hooded eyes. The second eyeliner hack that you need to know is what I'm calling the outer half technique. Now, I just made that up, but stay with me. One of the easiest ways to make eyeliner look more flattering is to be a little more strategic with where you place it. Now, a lot of us learn to line the eye all the way from the inner corner to the outer corner, and sometimes even all the way around the eye underneath too. I grew up in the Avril Lavigne era, and when I started getting into makeup in early high school, she was on the rise, and we were all doing our eyeliner like that because of her. It looked amazing on her because she was a rock star and 16, but it does not age well. As we get older, that much eyeliner all the way around the eyes can start to make the eyes look really closed off, very heavy, and a lot smaller. So instead of automatically lining the entire eye, I want you to try concentrating the liner more on the outer third to the outer half of the eye. You can do this by placing some pigment down on the outside of the eye and then diffusing it so it looks softer and more blended. This gives you the definition and the shape that eyeliner is meant to give you, but in a way that still leaves the eyes looking more open and more lifted. If you do like a little more definition towards the inner part of the eye, towards the nose, you can always tightline that inner third instead. That way the shape stays very thin here and it's very subtle, and then it gets softer and smokier as it moves outward. Now, before I share the next hack with you guys, I want to let you know that for all of these looks, I'm actually using the eyeliners from my own brand called Mature Beauty. I created this line specifically for women over 40 with formulas that are designed to work with the changes that we see in our features over time. The texture of this pencil is very creamy, so it glides on without tugging on the lid, and it blends out beautifully, which makes a very big difference if you're you're dealing with fine lines or any lid laxity where the aligner starts to skip. I'll have everything linked for you in the description box below in case you want to check it out. The next eyeliner hack I want to share with you, I like to call the smudge out. If eyeliner has suddenly started looking too severe in your eyes, you either need to smudge it out, use a softer shade, or most likely do both. One of the biggest mistakes that I see on mature eyes is leaving eyeliner just too sharp. This is where I find that liquid liner can be a little tricky. Because liquid liner gives you such a sharp, such a precise line, it can often look a little too harsh on mature eyes, especially if there's any texture on the lid or any hooding. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use it. If you love it and if your eyelids support it, then definitely do it. But I do find that using like a softer formula, a Kajal formula that you can blend out, tends to be much more forgiving and just much more flattering on most people. So the next time that you apply your liner, instead of placing it down and leaving it exactly as it is, I want you to place the color down like you did before. And then before it has a chance to set, so do one eye at a time, go back in and soften out the edges. You can do that with a tiny smudge brush, an angled brush, a pencil brush, or even just the brush on the back of the liner itself if your liner has one. I specifically designed an angled brush on the back of my eyeliner because it's one of the most important brushes that I use in almost all of my liner applications on myself and on clients. But of course, if you don't have my liner, you could just grab any type of very small, precision, compact brush, and you can get a very similar effect from it. The key really is to blend the liner while it's still a little bit creamy before it fully dries down. That's one of the reasons why I just love this formula so much, why it took so long to develop it. It gives you enough time to manipulate, to move, to diffuse and blend it before it locks down into place. You can get really soft diffused looks from it. So you can see here that instead of noticing the eyeliner first, you notice the shape of the eye first, and that's almost always the more flattering result. The next thing I want to talk about is how to get the most out of adding liner underneath, because lower liner can be beautiful. I personally love, love, love how it looks. But as you saw earlier, it can also get very heavy and stark very quickly. Now, the first thing you need to think about is shade. So black eyeliner under the eyes can work really well if your features are naturally darker or more high contrast. So for example, if you have dark hair, medium to deep skin tone, dark eyes, that kind of depth can often handle more darkness under the eyes. But if you're more of a low contrast person, so you have lighter eyes, lighter skin, lighter hair, you usually need to tone that color way down. And the best way to do that is by choosing a softer shade and then smudging it out really well, or even choosing a color that has a little bit of light reflection to it. The shade that I'm using here is called Champagne Bronze. It's a really unique shade. It's actually one of my favorites in the collection, and I use it on both the top and the lower lash line here. You can see that because it's a mid-tone color with those light reflective properties. It gives a lot of definition, but it still feels very soft and flattering instead of feeling harsh. The next eyeliner hack that I want to share with you is this. If you struggle with transfer, okay, if your liner is always smudging, you just need to set it. I think a lot of people assume that the solution is just to use a super waterproof liner, but that can honestly create a whole different set of problems because super waterproof formulas tend to be a lot more grippy and a lot more waxy. And while that sounds like a good thing, they're usually much harder to work with. They don't blend very easily. And when eyeliner isn't blended properly, that's when it can start to look very, very harsh, right? That type of formula can also skip over fine lines, go on really unevenly, and leave that slightly like jagged look. That's really hard to fix once it's there, especially if it's waterproof. That's why 10 out of 10 times I prefer something that is more buttery because it just glides on so much more smoothly and it gives a softer, more flattering effect on the eyes. But I also recognize that with the yin comes the yang, right? Even if a creamy liner is long wearing, it's not going to behave the same way as one of those super waterproof formulas. And that can sometimes mean a little bit more movement. So if you're someone who struggles with transfer, there's a really simple way to fix that. Just set it. Set it and forget it. Once you've applied your liner and blended it the way you like, go back in with a small brush and press a matching eyeshadow right over top. That helps lock everything in place, reduces transfer, and also softens the look even more. So you still get that beautiful, creamy, flattering finish, but with a lot more staying power. It's a really small step, but it can make a huge difference in how your eyeliner wears throughout the day. If you haven't tried it before, give it a go. I think it will surprise you. If you want to check out the liners that I used in today's video, you can find them all at maturebeauty.shop. I am super proud of them, if you can't tell. I'll have everything linked for you in the description box and in the pinned comment below too. I'll see you in the next one.